I'm מתנדבת also. I came here.
Wonderful.
9 o'clock.
Okay, so hi everyone. We begin. This week's portion is Chumash Devarim, and we are in the beginning of Chodesh Av. The month of Av is spelled Aleph and Beis, which is the Rosh Tevot of Elul Ba. We're soon entering the month of Elul, where we all make our take our inventory. We make a cheshbon nefesh and ask Hashem for forgiveness for the new before Rosh Hashanah. Yes. So I also want to mention that we are before Tisha B'av. That Motzei Shabbat begins Tisha B'av, and we started the 9 days. Okay, okay. So the 9 days. It's okay. So no, it's okay now. Just was going off. We began the 3 weeks by the 17th of Tammuz, and then the first day of Av till the 9th day of Av, which is Tisha B'av, which is the day we fast. The 9 days are more intensified, and we don't eat meat, we don't drink wine, we refrain from, we don't wash our clothes unless you really have to. But they're more intensive days, and the 9th day is the most, where the fast begins. It's not like the 17th of Tammuz where we started the fast early in the morning. It begins at night by the Shkia, which means on Shabbat. So when we eat the Suda Shlishit, that's going to be our Suda Mafseket. This is going to be our last meal before the fast, and begins like something like 7:30 or something like that. And then we fast through. That night, we come to hear we put on shoes that are not leather. And there are 5 things that are not allowed on Tisha B'Av, besides fasting. No additional pleasures, okay? No washing, no lotions, no creams, no leather shoes, no marital relations. What else? Okay, so we sit on the floor. We sit on the low stool till the afternoon. And the idea is not just the fasting, but we are mourning the destruction of the temple, and we hope to merit to see it being rebuilt with the coming of Mashiach very, very soon. And by learning these days, we learn about the structure and the function of the and the significance of the Holy Temple, because it says that if you learn about it, it's as if you built it. Because we are told that the prophet Chizkiyahu said, how am I going to teach the people how the Beit HaMikdash looked? It's just going to make them very upset and very sad, because you're in mourning, and you don't have it. It was destroyed. And Hashem said that learn about it, and it will be as if you built it. And so we're waiting for the day to come very, very soon, when all the mournful dates on the calendar are transformed into days of tremendous happening. It says Yemei Sason v'Simcha. It will be days of joys and happiness, and hopefully we might not have to fast if Mashiach comes today. Like we await him every single day, every minute of the day. So hopefully we won't have to fast.
עוד משהו להגיד אפשר? נכון, כל הסימנים שיש בעולם עכשיו זה מראה שבאמת המשיח מגיע.
Yes, we have all the signs that we need. Yes. Okay, so let's start with the Parsha of Devarim. We begin the 5th book of the 5 Chumashim, and it's sort of a repetition of everything that happened. Was started, Moshe spoke on Rosh Chodesh Shvat, and it was like 36 days before he passed away. We have the 5 weeks where he's rebuking the Jews. So this is the 40th year after they left Egypt. And he begins by summarizing like key events that happened. He specifies some of them, and he wants to give them tochacha. He wants to rebuke them, but he does it in such a way that he's gentle about it. He calls the names of the places, and he hints to the sins that they did. Like he says, it says in the Chumash, it says, these are the words which Moshe spoke to all Israel on the other side of the Jordan, in the desert, in the Arava, opposite Suf, between Paran and Tofel, Tofel and Lavan, and Chatzerot, and Dizahav. These are the names that he mentions. So the Sifri tells us that all these places are not really landmarks, but in these are that some of these places don't even exist. Like there's no place called Tofel Lavan, but he was he was hinting the sins that they did in these places. So we'll go through them very quickly. He mentions in the desert, so that's when they complained. They said, if only we would have died in the desert. And then it says in the Arava, what did they do in the Arava? They worshipped the Baal Peor, which was the Avodah Zarah, okay, the idol worshipping in the plains of Moab, it says, right? What's opposite Suf? That's the trouble that they made on the shore of Yam Suf, on the Red Sea. And then Rashi tells us there, Paran was the spies that they sent from Paran. They came from Paran. They were sent to spy the land to see which way to conquer. It wasn't if you can conquer, it's which way naturally to do it. Hashem was going to help them anyway, but that was their sin. Tofel and Lavan is the man was white. So, and Tofel means like to libel, like libeling the white man. Sort of, they came to complain, we're sick of it, we want meat and all that. Then there's the Chatzerot, where that was Korach and his 250 people that came, made a demonstration against Moshe. And the Di Zahav, Di comes from the word in Hebrew, is like they must speak, enough or too much. Zahav, too much gold, because they had too much gold, they made the sin of the golden calf. So this is what he was reminiscing to. Now, it's interesting. There's a Hasidic saying that these are the words that Moshe spoke to all of Israel. Okay, it was only to the people of Israel that he told them about their failings and what was not right. But when he spoke to Hashem, he only spoke of the virtues of the Jews, and he justified them no matter what they did. He justified them. So, it depends who he was talking to, and that's why the pasuk specifies that this is what he said to the Jews, not to Hashem. Hashem, he said, save them every time.
But Hashem listens.
And Hashem listens. Hashem is not like a person. Like, how many times will you forgive somebody? So you say, okay, I'll forgive you. That's once, twice, but the third time, a person doesn't like you say, I'm going to forgive you again, and you can do it again. But Hashem, it says, Marbel Isloach. Marbel Isloach, he forgives every time, and an infinite amount of times. To him, it's like the same. It says that Aleph, the word Aleph, is like Elef. You write it the same way. Aleph is one. Elef is 1,000. Yeah. For Hashem, there's no difference between Elef or Aleph.
The zeros are
1 or 1,000 is all the same.
Yeah, forget about the zeros.
Just add some zeros. Yeah. Okay. Now, when Moshe scolded them, he said, "See what you caused." He said, "There's no shorter way from Mount Sinai, from Har Horeb to Kadesh Barnea, than the way through Mount Seir, and even." It's a journey of 11 days it should take. That's the shortest, that it could be. And Hashem made a miracle. And it took them 3 days. And Rashi tells us how it was the 20th. When did they leave the mountain, the Matan Torah? It was the Chaf Iyar, it was the 20th of Iyar. And on the 29th of Sivan, that's when they sent the spies from Kadesh Barnea. If you take off the 30 days that they spent in Kivrot Ta'ava, which was the graves of lust, I guess you would call it, when they asked for the meat, and there was, so they were there for 30 days, and they ate meat for a whole month. And then there were 7 days where Miriam passed away, and they waited for her, where they said Shiva, right? When she had the Torah, when she had the Torah, they waited the 7 days for the Torah until she was better. And then they continued. They gave her the kavod for her respect. So if you take off the 30 days and the 7 days, so how many days did they travel? Only 3 days. They traveled it all in 3 days. And it shows that Hashem was really wanted to hasten their entry into the land. But because Moshe tells them, because you acted corruptly, and because of what happened with the spies, so Hashem made you go around the Mount Seir for 40 years. You traveled around. Could you imagine? In 3 days, they could have gone into Israel. And they would have won the war. And here he made them go around. They have to go all the way around Har Seir. And it took them 40 years. And they didn't even go into Israel. At the end, they all died out. All those that were 20 years and up. So anyway, Hashem says to them, Rav Lachem, you stayed here long enough by Mount Sinai. It's time to turn away. It's time to take your journey, and start. You have to move on. The Rebbe teaches us something very interesting, and he says that by Mount Sinai, God revealed himself to us, right? So this was like a very special place. So Hashem says, listen, you're hanging around this mountain long enough, it's time to move on. The Rebbe says, in our lives, there are days or years of revelation, like times where we learn and we grow and we're enriched and you're happy, where you are, because you're learning but the purpose is to move on. You cannot, you have to, Hashem says you have to, there's some corner of creation that's awaiting redemption, that might be your job. Every person, wherever God takes them, they have a mission. So you can't just sit in your own, like the Bet Midrash, and I mean, this is the beginning of a Chassid's life. They spend in the Bet Midrash and they sit and they learn day and night. But then the time comes where you have to get married and you have to raise a family and you have to go out to the world and do your thing, redeem the world. So this is the message. Shlichut. You have to do your shlichut. Everybody has their shlichut, and nobody can switch. We learned that in the temple, in the Holy Temple, the Levim had their job, and the Kohanim had their job. The Kohanim were not allowed to do. The Kohanim were not allowed to do what the Levim had to do. The Levim would sing, and they would play instruments. And the Kohanim, of course, they brought up the sacrifices, and then they took care of from inside. And there were certain sacrifices that while they were bringing them up, the Levites would sing. So those who sang didn't open the gates, and those who opened the gates didn't,
Because they did not know the job.
And they knew their jobs.
I'm saying the Levi. The Kohen did not know how to play.
No, not because they didn't know. It's not because they didn't know. There was a story that we told about Rabbi Yoshua ben Hanania, that he saw someone else having trouble with the gate, and he ran to help him, and he said, "Get back! Don't come close, because it's a punishment of death." He said, if this is not your job. He said, "Ani hashoer v'ataham mishorer." Like I'm the one who takes care of the gate, and you're the one who has to sing. We cannot mix. So do your thing. So a lot of times,
Delegation.
Many times it looks to us like someone else is in a better place, and we'd rather do what they're doing, and they're so lucky, and you want to switch places with other people. But you have to know that it says that everyone has their masa. About the Levites, it says, no, say like it's his pekale. Everybody has their package. And somebody once said to me, if we would all put our packages in the middle, you would always take your own bag, because you cannot bear someone else's troubles. Yeah. So this is what we learn. A Jew has to always be going forward. And Moshe describes how he became so overwhelmed with the burden of the people. And he appointed leaders, officers of thousands, officers of hundreds, officers of 50s, officers of 10s, and they helped him judge the people. He looked for people that could judge with justice, integrity, and share the weight of the leadership. And it says, "Va'asimem." Vasimei means I will place them. The Torah tells us he's going to place them. And it's written without a yud. So we're told that if the word va'asimem doesn't have a yud, you could read it va'ashamam. It means their guilt. And this comes to teach us that the fault of the generation is always on the heads, on the leaders. Like we always say, I always repeat this, when you point a finger to someone, there's 3 fingers pointing to you. Check yourself. And of course, you have to follow, what Hashem says. But the elders are instructed to inform and to teach. So if you didn't teach them properly, you're always at fault.
That's right.
Yeah.
In business as well.
You know that we were told also when people would come to the Rebbe for a yefidut, they would come with all kinds of questions and ask the Rebbe for help, for assistance in all kinds of spiritual problems, physical problems. And there was a time then I think it was with the Tzemach Tzedek where he closed the doors or something, and he put his head down on the desk, and it took him a while till he opened the door again. And he said that whenever someone comes to ask me for help, I always have to find the blemish in myself. This is what Baal Shem Tov said, that whenever you see something in someone else, you know it's a mirror of yourself. And when you say, oh, he's like, that person is so bad, look why are you seeing it? Why are you seeing the bad in the other person, and the other person doesn't see the bad in him? Because it doesn't affect them. What affects us is something that we have to, like Hashem is showing it to us, mirroring it to us, and saying, oh, if I see it, it means I have something to work on. And so, so the Rebbe said, in order for me to help these people and to perfect their character, whatever it is that they need, I have to find it in myself, find the blemish. So I guess the faults of a generation rests with the heads and the leaders. That's what the previous Rebbe said. Anyway, this was interesting about judging. The Torah tells us that it says like this: I charged your judges at the time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him. Do not give anyone special recognition. Hear the small as well as the great, fear no man. If a rich person comes, you have this feeling and you say, you know what? You have pity on the poor person, make him pay. And afterwards I'll tell him, listen, you helped him. You're not allowed to do that in a court case. You have to be very specific, and you want to give a poor person money and do it at a different time, but not to change the outcome of the case. So there was a story told about a widow who she came to the Beit Din, to the court, and this was the court of Rabbi Yoshua ben Kutna, or of the city Kutna, Rabbi Yoshua of Kutna. And she came crying bitter tears, and she begged him. She said, there's a man who's bringing me potential fraud. There's a man who's accusing me, and I'm not, falsely. So Rabbi Yoshua called the man. He said, come, we'll call you to the court. But he asked a different rabbi to sit on the case. And he said that the Torah forbids us taking bribes. Okay, a judge is not to take bribes. So he said, you think a bribe is only a gift of money? He said, tears can also be a bribe. And it could blind your clear-sightedness, because, especially the tears of a poor widow. So he decided not to sit on this case and have someone else. He was sort of like, you feel you're bribed because she came crying, and automatically you feel you want to help her. So he was afraid, don't take sides. And he had someone else sit on that. Anyway, then Moshe continues, and he reminds them of the sin of the spies. And he says that you all approached me and you said, let's send spies. And Hashem said to him, Shlach lecha. It's if you want. And he said, it pleased me. Why did it please me? Because I thought if I would tell you, you cannot go, then you won't believe me. It's like somebody comes to buy a car, okay? And he says, can I take it on a drive? Can I try it? And he says, sure, try it. I says, can I take it a Jeep? Can I take it up to the mountains? And he says, sure, wherever you want. The example here is given with a donkey. Okay, you can take it for a ride wherever you want. And so the person says, if he's letting me take it, then I could try. Then I guess he's not hiding anything. So I'll buy it, and he buys it. That's how would you say psychologia afucha, right? It's
psychology.
Yeah, but it's like
Upside down.
reverse
Reverse
psychology. That's the word. So here he said, I told them, yeah, sure, you can go, because if I tell them you can, then they're going to think that it's really true. He's hiding something. It's not going to be easy. And he thought they would say okay, and they wouldn't go. But of course they went, and Moshe agreed, and the outcome was tragic. And when the spies returned, we know that the people refused to go up, and they were afraid to conquer the land, even because they brought these special fruits back, and they praised the land. It was flowing with milk and honey, but look how strange these fruits are. That's how strange the people are, and that's how big they are. And so they really were scared. And then Hashem said that the whole generation was going to die in the desert, and only Caleb and Yoshua, they were the only ones from all these tribes, from the 12 tribes. These were the only two that encouraged the people to enter the land, and in their honor, I guess Hashem didn't. He let the younger generation that didn't reach the age of 20 yet to go into the land.
Because because they did not have the mentality of being a slave.
I'm not sure that that's true, but I'll tell you what it is true, is that they were such spiritual people, and they lived in the desert where Hashem gave them the man from heaven, and they had time to learn Torah. They were so afraid that if they have to come into the land and fight these nations and start building homes and start working in business, they won't have time to learn. They were very spiritual. But then again, Hashem says, move on. That is not the purpose of creation. Hashem wants the soul in the body, in a physical body, doing physical things, and to raise the physical. There's no point in sitting in the spiritual life in the desert and not building anything. Hashem wants us to raise the physical. So that was their mistake. I mean, they were very high spiritual people. It wasn't, like it sounds like really bad people. But no, they were very, very spiritual. They were learning Torah all the time. They had just received the Torah. They were very excited about it. So it's a whole different outlook. But anyway, so then they wanted to correct their mistake. Sometimes you say, I made a mistake. Okay, we're going to go up and we're going to fight. And Moshe said, no. It's too late. Now Hashem is not giving his permission. And if Hashem doesn't go with you, there's no way that you're going to win this war. And they went, and Hashem said also, you won't enter the land. And there's also a parable of a shepherd. A shepherd went to feed the king's flock, and the flock was abducted. And when the shepherd he wanted to enter the royal palace, so the king said to him, if you come in now, what will people say? They'll say that you caused the flock to be carried off. So the same thing Hashem said to Moshe now, because Moshe was not allowed to go into Israel. He said, Moshe says, look, Hashem was angry with me also for your sake. Because of you, I also can't enter the land. So Hashem says, your greatness is that you took out 600,000 people out of bondage. You took them out of Egypt, but you buried them in the desert. So you're going to bring a different generation into Israel. So people will think that the generation of the desert have no share in the world to come. And it's better you should stay beside them. And when the time will come, you will enter with your generation. So
when the Mashiach comes?
When Mashiach comes. So Moshe is like sort of waiting. This was the idea that it's not going to look good because these people, like I said, were not so bad, but they didn't merit to go into the land of Israel because of what they did. Okay, so they were 38 more years in the desert because of the spies, and altogether 40 years. And now Moshe tells them, do not provoke a fight with the Edomites and don't pass through their land. And then when they, just like when they reached the borders of Moab and Ammon, they were told not to fight with them. The first to suffer the consequence of aggression was Sihon, the king of the Amorites, and Sihon Melech HaAmori and Og Melech HaBashan. But this time, Hashem tells him, listen, assemble the forces, the Israeli forces, and you will defeat Sihon and his people. And then came Og, the king of Bashan, who was actually the last one of the giants that was left, and he was also struck down by Moshe's troops, and they conquered all the cities. This was before Moshe. This was what happened like right before we mentioned last week that Reuven and Gad said that they want that land. It was good cattle land. So Moshe reminds them of the of after defeating Sichon and Og, that he gave the east part of the Jordan to the east part of the Jordan River to Reuven and Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh also. And this inheritance was given on the condition that they would lead the fight of conquering the Canaanim in the western land of Israel. What?
And the distribution.
And the distribution as well, right. Moshe concludes these words by telling how he instructed Yoshua, who is his student, his successor. He tells him, be courageous in the face of future challenges. You have to trust in Hashem. And just as he defeated the two kings, so he's going to defeat the other kings in the land of Israel. Don't fear them. And Hashem is yilachem lachem. Hashem is going to fight. When Hashem fights for us, then we don't have to worry. So this is basically the sum of this parsha. I want to mention, going back to the Moshe rebuking the people, that we learn something very, very important here, that the way he rebukes them. First of all, why does he do it now? So we're told he learned this from Yaakov, that Yaakov, before he passed away, he called all his sons together, and he also rebuked them. And the reason, he also gave them blessings. But the reason is because when you rebuke a person and then he's embarrassed to face you again, you have to see him again, right? If you didn't change your ways. So it's embarrassing. So that's one reason why when a person is he's on his way out, it's much easier also to accept it. And so first of all, you don't want to be a nudnik, because you're going to say it once and then you're going to see him again and you're going to remind him. And every time you see him, you remind him, I don't want to see this person, So you're going to find yourself doing it, repeating yourself. That's the first reason. The second one is that he won't be embarrassed every time he sees you. So if you want to criticize somebody, make sure to do it in a delicate way and keep their dignity. See, he did it in such a way that he mentioned, just as in hints. He didn't say you did this and you did that. He just mentioned the places and they automatically knew what he was talking about. He didn't say, oh, you lousy, idolaters, and how did you do such a thing? And you saw Hashem at Sinai and now you're, building a golden calf. Like, he could have, but he didn't. And he just says two words, Di Zahav. That's it. And it sounds like a place. So Rashi tells us that it's a subtle reference to the golden calf. It's like Di Zahav is like Di. It's enough. Dayeno, look.
I like that word.
Yeah. So even when he was rebuking them, he was actually defending them. Like, why did you sin? Because you had you had too much gold. If you didn't have all that much gold, you wouldn't have been able to do it. And it was interesting that Jonathan Sachs, he mentions that Moshe's criticism of the people was accepted because they knew that he was also their greatest defender. He was the one who defended them. So he was the one who argued their case before Hashem every single time. And so they knew he loved them. So when you love someone and you trust someone, it's okay to get rebuked by them because they really mean well.
It's like mentoring.
I could tell you,
right?
being a principal in school, and you see that a teacher in front of a class, so you can see the same students, and there's a teacher who's standing in front of them, and everybody's quiet, and we say, "Oh, such like wonderful students," and they're listening to the teacher, and the teacher could scream at them, and they're fine. And then there's another teacher who walks in chaos, and they're just like totally out of control, and you say, these are the same students. So again, it's a tlui more, right? It's who's standing in front of them. Do they trust her? Do they know? They feel. If you mean their well-being, they can feel it. So the same is true with children and parents and anybody. So anyway, so he adopted this position, which everybody knows is a more effective way. And you mentioned coaching. This is what they teach you. So it says that Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah asks, he says, I wonder if there's anyone in this generation who knows how to rebuke, because it's very easy to criticize, and some people do it very naturally. But being critical of others, you need to be chacham, you need to be smart, you need to be sensitive, and you have to respect and be considerate. You can't just fly off the handle and just say whatever you think, say what's on your mind. That's embarrassing, putting people to shame publicly, sometimes not making sure not to criticize a person publicly. It says that to embarrass somebody in public is actually like killing them. And they say malbin, like the person, the blood. Why the blood leaves? And the blood is the life force, so it's like you're detracting the life force from him. Malbin means you're embarrassing them. If you say something to a person and they're embarrassed, so first of all, you have to do it in a sensitive way, in a respectful manner, in a considerate way, not in front of other people, and because offending them, you're just as bad, doing just as bad. Anyway, so to be effective, it has to be also constructive. Bikoret bona, we say, right? Constructive criticism.
Okay.
Because if you are going to just attack the person will probably attack you back. And so then there becomes like becomes a fight. Yeah, it's just so the Torah teaches us that even though it says hochiach tochiach et amitecha, which means it's a mitzvah to tell somebody that he's behaving improperly, inappropriately, right? It's a mitzvah, but it has to be done with tremendous respect and understanding, because on the other hand, it might be you might be committing a sin by embarrassing this person. So you have to be really, really careful. The person has to think really well how to say what he wants to say, if it's worth it,
And say it with love.
And say it with
love. The point is that, yes, you should communicate with someone that has done wrong and let them know, because otherwise they're going to continue doing it. But if you show them with love, that you show also respect, but you're making a communication between them,
Okay, but so we want positive communication.
Right.
So the person won't be embarrassed to come back and talk to you. Anyway, what I mentioned before about Rabbi Eliezer, so there's another section in the Talmud that quotes Rabbi Tarfon, and he said, I wonder if there's anyone in this generation who knows how to accept the rebuke. It's difficult to just as difficult as it is to rebuke, it's difficult to accept. And sometimes I think it's like a natural talent. Some people have it, some people don't. But I think it's something that could be learned.
A good student does that.
Yeah, to how to criticize and not to cause the person to be defensive or angry.
Yeah.
And if you do it with sincerity and, like you say, with love, then it's easier to accept it. And then the person knows, you're right. It's done for my good. You did it for my good, and so we can stay good friends. It's like not gonna. That's a gift. But it's something we should work on.
Student to a teacher, a teacher to a student.
Yeah, but a teacher to a student is it could be condescending if you're talking about friends. It depends.
Oh no.
Yeah. Okay, but if it's a teacher to a student, yeah. Anyway. So we should all learn from Moshe about how to be critical, how to be constructive, how to be gentle, subtle, sensitive, and also on the other hand, how to accept criticism with wisdom, with humility, not to get too upset. And the previous Rebbe says in the name of his father, the Rebbe Rashab, he says, cherish criticism because it will raise you up to new heights. And that's something we should remember, that a person should appreciate, okay? Cherish it. And cherish means it's something that you, yakar lach. Okay. And Shlomo HaMelech says it very well. He says, I'm going to say the literal translation is, do not chastise a fool lest he hate you. Chastise a wise man and he will love you. So it's again, it's who you're talking to, how you're speaking to him, and you have to think, is there someone who's going to accept it, someone who's going to receive it? Because do not say something that will not be accepted. Just as important it is to say something that will be accepted, it's a mitzvah to keep quiet if it's not going to be accepted. So we have to choose our words. Yeah. So that's it for today. So hopefully we'll have, we might not have to fast, like I said, hopefully. And yeah, any questions?
The art of communication.
It's an art. Yeah. It's an art. You should know that the communication is the basis of everything. And I think that communicating means listening. And listening is
twice as much as talking.
You know what it is? To know what not to say is more important than what you say. Choosing your words. Yeah, so I was going to say that my son would come home from kindergarten and he would say, you know, what did the ganenet say? And he would say, oh, I heard, but shamati velo ikshafti. So there's hearing and there's listening. See, he was a little kid and he already was able to discern between listening and like shafti. That means you didn't take it to heart. You didn't take it a bit. It goes, like they say, it goes in one ear, goes out the other. So you have to absorb it inside. That's one thing.
Didn't take it personally.
Or you didn't absorb it. And also it's something that you have to work on. It's something that, like any skill. So,
is he as smart as today as he was young?
Actually, he passed away
Yes, right.
at age 21, but he accomplished very